Last week we talked about a ship that is probably coming this year. Seems pretty likely. We've seen the Polaris. We know that RSI is in the works. And I think we've actually seen the Perseus in the videos, ISC at this point. This week, we're talking about another ship that actually was revealed, I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, but is less likely to release this year, though it's not entirely untrue that it might. There's a lot of rumors and hopes and wishes and whispers and murmurs about the Ironclad, and it's the possibility that it might release this year. So we're going to look at it and talk a little bit about why it could, even though it's this gigantic ship, and why people like it so much. And in order to do that, we're literally just going to open up the ISC because there's not a lot of other information on it. I think you could look up the wiki. So it is a 120 meter long, 1 to 6 person ship carrying 1,500 SCU of cargo. That's the first kind of nice bit that people like about this. Let me give you an idea, a visual representation of where this sits in the cargo lineup. So you got your let's see, what do we have? You got your starting ships, right? 8 SCU, 16 SCU, whatever, 20 SCU of storage. You get all the way up to your C2, your real cargo hauler. Not the current top runner, but the top runner in cargo hauling for a while back in the day. The C2's got a good amount of storage. It has a nice and concise and quite profitable, about 600, so about 700 SCU of storage, which is great. I mean, we've been having a lot of fun with the C2s doing supply or die. I think it's the perfect size ship to offload yourself if you got 3 people. It doesn't take too long and it feels like you're doing a good job. But then you look at what comes next in the lineup for most people to jump to from that, the Hull C, which is more. A cool 4,000 plus SCU. So you've got this big old gap right here in the middle of like, can I take a step up? Can I not expose everything that I'm flying to anybody who looks at my ship? And that's where the Ironclad comes in. At a nice 1,500 SCU, it hits that central point that I think a lot of people want, and you're storing your cargo inside. So take yourself like a few different Caterpillars. In fact, how much does the Caterpillar carry? Because the Cat's like also in a, so yeah, 576. Actually around the same size as the C2. So you could put the C2 or the Caterpillar in that same position, but there's nothing really in between the two. So you just put 3 Caterpillars together and boom, bang, you got yourself an Ironclad. And this thing has some pretty cool features about it. Some nice storage, a really large internal cargo bay, but I'm going to let CIG tell you about it, and then we'll make our fun, witty comments as we go throughout this video. Again, this might come out this year. It'd be really cool if it did. I think it's possible, but let's not, don't set your life goals on it. Oh yeah, this was also the first video where they input concept art with audio involved. Like this one, it felt like they really wanted to sell this ship with this video. They were like, it's cool, it has sounds and they move.
So the Drake Ironclad is the kind of next step up for Drake cargo ships. It kind of builds on what the Caterpillar brings, but in a much larger form.
The Drake Ironclad is a 6-person multi-crew armoured freighter. A large proportion of the ship is dedicated to the cargo bay at the front of it, which has both a front ramp for loading and unloading cargo and small vehicles on the ground, as well as a retractable roof for doing that in space with EVA as well. Little tight entrances to cargo ships doesn't necessarily lend itself to when you're out in deep space and you're trying to quickly...
Dude, that's such a shout at it to Caterpillar owners. Now that the Caterpillar's elevators are starting to work, which is one of the reasons that people are suspicious that this might be getting worked on. One thing that CIG likes to do, as makes sense, as we can see with the Polaris and the Perseus I mentioned earlier, is when they're working on one ship in a series or one ship in a company, they will try and take that opportunity to work on the other ones because the work overflows, it overlaps, and they're very familiar with the work in that time. So we're seeing updates coming to the Caterpillar. First, we've seen the elevator doors starting to work, which, according to John Crew, is one of the worst decisions that was made in constructing vehicles in this game. It was a very painful thing to do. And I know that a lot of it was the physics grid stuff, which also got the whole series working. So they made good progress on that. They've got that into 4.1, and this is a pretty big deal to people. Now the next step is, do we see the Caterpillar get component update? Do we start hear them talking about a Caterpillar rework? Are there any other signs that they're doing a lot of work on the Caterpillar, or is it just that? And if there are other signs, does that mean they're working on the Ironclad? I don't know. But that is something that points towards them possibly working on this, is the Cat getting updates. And the Caterpillar has a problem with its tractor beam, with its cargo spaces. Just, it doesn't fit as well as what you would like, just like what he said, small spaces.
Move some cargo from one person's ship into your ship. Really, you want as much kind of access to be able to do that as you possibly can. So by having this kind of much larger opening on top of the ship, it allows us to kind of bring cargo in much easier.
So its role being a sort of armoured freighter comes from two distinct ways. One, the cargo itself is more protected. It's within the cargo bay that has the armoured roof section that covers it. So unlike, say, a Hull C where the cargo's on the outside, you can load it from the outside but then protect it with the Ironclad.
It's also more heavily armoured than the Caterpillar, so it kind of gives a little bit more security to your kind of precious cargo.
The exterior is very classic Drake brutish styling, a whole lot of engines and a lot of framework and quite thin structure.
The thrusters, I think, are the best part of the design. Drake's thrusters always look really cool in action.
Elements support the rest of the ship. Very bare bones styling. It doesn't have lots of nice padding. It's all there and exposed. And it's really just sort of rugged and to the point. So the Ironclad is really three distinct areas. You have all the accommodation in the rear sort of third of the ship. The front 2/3 is really just this cargo bay with the front entrance and the retractable roof.
So you could put vehicles in here, ships in here, cargo in here. You could probably put, well, I don't know, whatever big stuff they're going to put in the game that we might need later.
And then you have the command module, which has seats for the crew, plus a few little jump seats for everyone else. Command module is there to steer the ship when it's attached, and the command module serves as the escape pod as well. The only time you really want to detach it is in an emergency. It's not designed to be your sort of primary ship flying around.
See, now this single scene makes me really hopeful that they're going to get deep into survival gameplay. I know a lot of people are not interested in that. People get pretty unhappy about that idea in the game, like food and stuff like that. But the idea of being in a situation where you could crash land on a planet and actually have to figure out how to get yourself out of it through finding food and resources and building something up. Like, imagine being able to find the resources on a planet that lets you build a little outpost enough that you can craft the components to repair your ship and fly away. And then when you leave, that thing that you built stays there and somebody else could come across, or you could return to it. Like, you could just decide, hey, you know what? This was cool. I like this star system. Maybe I make this a home for myself and I actually come back to this place and build it up just because you survived there. I really, really hope that, they have big plans for that, and building ships that have entire modules that can break off and like fly. I can't see how they wouldn't do that. They don't talk too much about it though. They didn't mention it too much in the 1.0 talk, so I'm not sure. But these sort of things do make me hopeful for it.
It kind of gives you a little bit of a get out of jail free card if you're transporting stuff that is quite valuable, quite sought after in maybe some of our less desirable systems.
I'm sorry, real quick. You guys keep asking about this tease that they did, so I'll go look it up real quick. That they may have teased the Ironclad on their sneak peek. This picture. So you guys are thinking whatever is in the background of this picture is the Ironclad? Okay. Yeah, I could not tell you. It's pretty dark back there. And you know what I just realized? I don't even have this light on. So you guys just been watching me in the dark this whole time. There we go. Now we're lit. Yeah, I could not tell you what's back there. You'll have to take this picture and brighten it up. But like I said, whispers and murmurs, people are interested, people are curious, people think it might be coming, and that's why we're covering it.
It allows you to do is kind of have a little bit of security. So if you're getting attacked or you're getting yourself into trouble, if you want to save yourself, you can kind of jettison your cargo and try and get out of dodge and kind of get out to safety. And I think that's like a really important thing as we get closer to Death of a Spaceman.
With some of the recent tech that's come online, this brought us one step closer to implementing command modules properly. So not only will you see this detachable command module feature on the Ironclad, but as well it will happen on the Caterpillar.
Interior-wise, you've kind of got two entrances onto the ship. You can either enter via the command module, and that takes you straight into a kind of corridor section. It's kind of like almost like a mezzanine. You can either go up to the habitation area, which is top floor of the ship, gives you like super nice views out both the kind of cargo out the front and the rear of the ship, or you can kind of come down the ship into the main habitation area. Alternatively, you can enter through the dock and collar airlock, which is on the opposite side of the ship. At the rear of the interior of the ship, we've kind of got the heart of the engines.
So this is a pretty
big kind of engine.
It's actually kind of a small layout for the size.
At the rear of the interior of the ship, we've kind of...
it's obviously thick. It's a thick boy, and it's double deck here. But compared to the Caterpillar takes up quite a bit of space for its engineering too, and it's significantly smaller. Just a large portion of this ship is the cargo space, but I guess that's true for the Caterpillar too. Drake, let's keep looking at the camera over here. Drake, is this a thing? You do this often? Can you please make one of these for fluid transportation? Because I think that would just look really cool.
I've got the heart of the engines. It's the big kind of engineering area where we've got all of the kind of main functional components needed for moving such a large ship. And then if you kind of come slightly further forward, we've got we call it the kind of like the command deck. It's not a bridge, you can't fly the ship from it, but it's where you operate the tractor beams. It's where it kind of gives you good views out over the front and into space.
Literally, it's going to be such a freaking cool opportunity to load this ship up. I think the Ironclad's going to be really crucial for base building stuff, because landing on the ground and loading stuff out the top is going to be super valuable.
Got the tractor beam turrets, but also visually you can kind of stand in this area or sit in this area and look out over the front and over the bow of the ship and kind of really see what you're trying to pull in or what you're trying to capture into your cargo hold.
I'll become a hauler for that. I don't have to fly.
Downstairs, we've got
move the boxes around.
Covered area at the rear of the cargo hold, and that is where you can store a couple of small ground vehicles or
a little garage
equipment for moving vehicles and cargo around.
Not gonna lie, this part of the ship actually reminds me of the pit from Halo 3, I think it was. It's like a small indoor level, and I get those vibes from this part of the map for some reason. I think it's kind of the styling has that sort of old UNSC style without the details.
Your equipment for moving vehicles and cargo around. And then you're into the main cargo hold of the ship, and this takes up the majority of the interior space.
Mezzanine.
This large cargo hold. One of the things that we were kind of really keen to do was give lots of different views and different angles down into this cargo hold. Again, as we're exploring slightly less lawful systems, we wanted to give the players as much opportunities as we can to kind of be safe aboard their own ship. So either side of the cargo hold, we've got these gantries that run completely front.
Gantries, sorry, I used the wrong word.
To rear on the ship, and they give great view down into your cargo bay. They also give that opportunity of if there's someone tries to board you via the cargo bay, it gives you some nice cover opportunities. And we've also got a few little windows that kind of look down into it as well. As you move to the kind of
I think this ship is going to make for a great set piece. You guys know how we have the 890 jump boarding mission. One of the things they haven't done very much in Star Citizen is give us missions based on the ships we use. And once we start doing that, things get interesting. When you got to board a Polaris and take it over, we do it a little bit. We got the Idris, like I said, the 890. We have that one Cat mission, and then the Reclaimer. Some of them are broken and gone though. Once they start bringing in ships like this and they have us do like little extraction missions, They've got like a security locker here you're going to have to probably hack into. These are going to be cool set pieces.
At the very front, the very nose of the ship, those gantries lead into a kind of secure cargo area. It's somewhere that's a little bit more difficult to get to when you kind of enter the ship. The big thing we were referencing when we were looking at it was this idea of police evidence rooms. And so these kind of individual cages where you could put your most secure cargo, whatever it might be, in this area, and it would make it quite difficult to try and breach in or out of that area. So it gives us just somewhere a little bit more secure for kind of smaller cargo items. Finally, at the very front, we've got access to one of the main turrets and the tractor beam turret.
The biggest attraction for me with it is just the versatility of the cargo space. From a good citizen law standpoint, it is a cargo ship, but also that retractable roof and the tractor beams on board it give it some less legal opportunities for perhaps taking other people's cargo ships in space and on the ground. At the time of recording, we're also exploring a more military-themed variant of the Ironclad. It doesn't have a name yet, so we'll just call it the Drake
Ironclad Assault.
Compared to the base ship, this has been developed to support ground assault operations. It has additional turrets covering the upper and lower surfaces to provide more fire support. And the front section of the cargo area has been redesigned to enable our largest vehicles in game to be deployed from it, such as the tank. In addition, the cargo bay has been reduced in size to facilitate a onboard repair facility. So for the
Holmes. Honestly, with an onboard repair facility, man, we got to see what they're going to allow us to transport in terms of fabricators for crafting, but we know we can transport them. So you're going to have a vehicle bay, a secure storage bay, facilities for 6 people, turrets for defense, an easy time loading things and unloading things, a repair facility, space to carry aboard a crafting fabricator so you can craft stuff. Roll your nurse on board so you got to respawn. This could be a forward operating base, a little micro pioneer kind of thing. This could be a really good ship for a group of people, but this is also going to be one hell of a target for people to attack and stalk and track. I think one of the things I'm wondering about when it comes to piracy is how easy are they going to make it to track people? So maybe if you find a good target, you don't have to attack them right then. Save them for later. Let them fatten up.
those of you who want to have a journey in the cargo profession, traditionally you would start out...
This is not bigger than the Polaris. This is a little bit bigger than the Perseus. It's 120 meters. It's bigger than the Perseus. This is around Carrack size, I want to say. 120 meters long.
Think, say, like a Hull A. The next step up from there really is sort of into Drake Caterpillar territory. So you're doing roughly an 8 to 10 times jump in cargo capacity. From there, the Ironclad sits nicely between those smaller ships and the much larger bulk carriers such as the Hull C, and then ultimately you get to things like the Hull D, E, and Kraken at the end of the cargo career.
You said Kraken.
Yes.
Was that a hint at anything?
Oh.
It's not a hint at anything, but making the Ironclad makes the Kraken easier.
So building out the...
Yeah, so there's also that, which has people very excited because they're teasing that too, of course. So if you go to one of the recent Inside Star Citizens,
If you want...
theory has it, and it's why that's the most replayed part of this episode, you can see. This is the Perseus, but this is not, I don't know why I even came to this video. I meant to come down here to look at our new star systems where they teased a Kraken during last year's CitizenCon. So like, they're dropping little bits and pieces, little breadcrumbs. Like they're trying to get people excited about these ships, and I think y'all better deliver them if you are.
The Ironclad does, of course, kind of help us with building out the Kraken. I think increasing that visual library of assets that we can pull from and use in a Drake manufacturer at the right scale is super valuable for when we move on to the large ships.
It's a cool ship. I wonder what kind of downsides it's going to have. This is going to be a pretty interesting thing to use and fly, and it's probably going to have a decent amount of quantum, but armor-wise, what's it going to look like? Fuel-wise, maybe quantum it would be good, but possibly not hydrogen. I don't think it has VTOL engines, so They keep showing it flying in atmosphere, but how much is that really going to hurt it when it's trying to hover land with all this mass, all this cargo in the back of it? Interesting ship, very cool one. We'll probably talk about it again later in the year. I'm hoping during Invictus we hear about something about it, but I genuinely, I don't think it's coming until the end of this year, if it does come this year. Either way, hope this was a bit of an update on the Ironclad for you. Thanks for checking it out.